Say I work at a gas station at a party and watch the conversation end in about 4 seconds. Say I'm in operations instead. Same job, same gas station, just a different 2 words. And people ask a follow-up question. Nobody told you the rules of this game. Nobody handed you a chart explaining exactly how much respect, attention, and assumed competence comes attached to each title. But the chart exists. You felt it your whole life. And today we're going to walk it rung by rung, from the job everyone overlooks to the one everyone pretends they understand. Here's the uncomfortable part. None of this tracks with actual difficulty, intelligence, or value to society. Plenty of low-status jobs require more skill, physical endurance, and split-second judgment than the desk jobs that outrank them socially. And plenty of high-status titles describe people doing very little that anyone could clearly explain. What's actually being ranked isn't the job, it's a signal, a shorthand strangers use to guess your education, your income, and your decision-making power, all from one sentence in under 2 seconds. Most people have never thought about it consciously, but everyone runs the calculation. Let's go level by level. This is the floor of the social hierarchy, and the strange part is how arbitrary the disrespect is, because the job itself is harder than most people clocking it. You're standing for 8 hours. You're doing math under pressure, defusing angry customers, and being held personally responsible for prices you didn't set and policies you didn't write. And the social reward for all of that is being treated, by a meaningful slice of the people you interact with, as if you're not quite a full adult in the room. People talk past cashiers to their friends mid-transaction. People assume, often out loud, that this is a starter job rather than someone's actual career, even when it's been someone's actual career for 15 years. The title itself does almost all of the damage here. Say I manage transactions and customer escalations for a retail location, and you're describing the exact same job in language that would get nodded at in a job interview. One level up and the disrespect gets quieter, but the invisibility gets worse. Warehouse work is often physically brutal. Repetitive lifting, injury risk, overnight shifts that wreck your sleep for years. But because almost nobody outside the industry has ever set foot in a warehouse, the job exists in most people's minds as a vague gray blur. He works at a warehouse doesn't even register as a full sentence to a lot of listeners. It's not disrespected so much as it's simply not processed. The strange flip side, inside logistics and supply chain circles, this work is taken seriously because the people doing the hiring actually understand what the job requires. The disrespect isn't universal. It's specific to people who've never had to think about how anything they own actually got to them. This is the level where things flip for reasons that have nothing to do with the actual work. An entry-level admin assistant making less than the warehouse worker one level down will in most social settings get treated with more default respect because office reads as educated and educated reads as competent, regardless of what's actually happening at the desk. This is also the level where job titles start getting deliberately inflated because everyone at this rung has figured out the game early. Receptionist becomes front office coordinator, assistant becomes associate. Nobody's lying exactly. They've just learned correctly that the words are doing real work on people's perception before any actual work gets evaluated. Here's where the title starts actively lying to people and almost everyone falls for it anyway. Manager can mean someone overseeing 40 employees and a 7-figure budget. It can also mean someone overseeing 3 part-time teenagers at a sandwich shop. The word is doing zero work to distinguish between those two realities, but socially it doesn't matter. Say I'm a manager at a dinner party and you get treated as someone with authority, full stop, regardless of which version you actually are. This is the first level where people start asking you for advice unprompted about their careers, their own management problems, sometimes things that have nothing to do with management at all. The title alone has converted you, in the eyes of strangers, into someone who must know things. One rung up and something specific happens. People stop assuming you might be wrong. A manager gets second-guessed constantly by employees and customers alike. A director, even one who's wrong just as often, gets a kind of social benefit of the doubt that manager-level titles never receive. This is also the level where the question changes from, "What do you do?" to "What's your team like?" A subtle shift that assumes, correctly or not, that you're now managing people rather than doing the underlying work yourself. By this point, something interesting happens to the conversation itself. People start performing for you slightly, even when they don't realize they're doing it. Jokes get a little safer, opinions get phrased a little more carefully. People who would have argued with you at the manager level now soften disagreements into questions. Have you considered instead of I think you're wrong? None of this is because VPs are smarter. It's because the title has quietly recoded you in the listener's head as someone whose opinion of them might matter to their own future. This is also where the disconnect between title and actual day-to-day work peaks for a lot of people. Plenty of VPs spend most of their week in meetings discussing decisions that get made somewhere else entirely. But the social treatment doesn't care. The title is doing the talking now, not the job description. And then there's the top of the chart, where the title stops describing a job at all and starts describing a personality everyone assumes you must have. Say, I'm a CEO, and most people will, within seconds, mentally assign you traits you may or may not actually possess. Decisiveness, vision, risk tolerance, even a certain ruthlessness, regardless of whether you run a 4-person company or a 40,000-person one. The word CEO describes a legal role. The reaction it gets describes a myth. This is also the level where the treatment flips into something almost comedic. People start agreeing with you faster, laughing at things that weren't jokes, and assuming competence in rooms where you've said nothing at all. At the cashier level, your silence reads as disengagement. At this level, the exact same silence reads as gravitas.